Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to review the arcticair. And as you can plainly see, I actually do own an arcticair. And I'm sure you have seen these on the store shelves all across the country. You've seen it on TV, and you really want to know how this thing actually works. Well, I'm going to tell you all about it tonight. And I'm also going to tell you what I actually think of it tonight. Now, a lot of you will be thinking to yourselves, wow, the ultimate air conditioner. It doesn't take a lot of power, yet it keeps you cool. Well, not so fast. Okay. First, how does this arcticair actually work? Well, let's go through it step by step. Okay? As you can see here, inside of it is an actual fan. Now, the thing is, you have to fill this thing up with water. So this is going to raise your water bill just a little bit. That's the first thing they don't tell you. Okay? Now, the water goes in here, and these filters, and I'm not sure whether they're made of paper or some other type of material. I just really don't know what these filters are made out of, but they soak up the water. Okay? Now then, you say, well, how do you get this thing into the arcticair? Well, when you first buy it, it's actually already in the arcticair. But what they don't tell you is that every 6 months, you have to replace this. Okay? Because it gets soaked up with so much water that it becomes basically useless. And besides all that, it grows mold and that kind of thing. So really, you do have to replace this every 6 months. Okay. So then, how do you get it in here? Well, imagine a stair stepper. Okay? You have one of those stair steps. Okay? So this is the bottom step. This is the top, and there's another bottom step up. So you can actually go 1, 2, 3. I know you can't see that too well, but you can watch my finger. 1, 2, 3. Okay? That is why this thing is indented like it is. Okay? This center section would be hovering over the top step. Okay? So, let's put this thing in here, shall we? So we put it in. Just like that. Okay. Now, then you have this little grid right here, and you have to place this inside. So far, so good. Now, there is a USB port, and it goes out to a plug, which you then plug into the outlet. You say, well, that's pretty energy efficient, and it actually is. This does not have a rechargeable battery. Okay, so keep that in mind. There's no rechargeable battery in this thing. Okay, the round circle is the power button. Now, it has a picture of a fan right here. This has 3 settings, low, medium, and high. And based on what you've got this set on, the fan will either turn slowly, or medium speed, or fast. See what I mean? And this also has a nightlight. Now, some people love nightlights. That's fine. I'm not so fond of them. Really, when I want a dark room, I want a dark room. And this thing having a nightlight is very irritating. And you cannot shut off the nightlight. I don't know why, but you can't. Anyway, you fill this up with water, you turn it on, and what happens is that hot air is brought in from this side. These filters get soaked up with water. And when that hot air hits those filters full of water, then slightly cooler air is actually going to come out of this arcticair. Okay? Actually, it is pretty cool. I have to give them that. It actually does what it says it does. Okay. So, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that if you live in the desert Southwest, this is an ideal unit to have. You don't have very much moisture, you got a ton of heat, this thing will cool you down. And for a room like this, which is not very big, It's the most ideal thing you can ever have in your bedroom. Okay? However, I live in Illinois, and we get both heat and moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. So anybody that's affected by the Gulf of Mexico is not going to enjoy this so much. Now when it's in the 70s or the 80s, when you have 70-degree weather or 80-degree weather, up to about 85, this is pretty decent. It will actually cool down a room much like this. You get past 85 degrees and you're going to need a real air conditioner, because you're combining both heat and moisture. And boy, I'll tell you what, just check your dew points and you'll find out just how ineffective this is going to be in that kind of heat. Okay? So that's the first drawback. The second one, of course, is the water. I just said that earlier. You're gonna have a rise in your water bill, because you're going to have to pour water in this all the time. Now they say, well, this thing lasts for 8 hours. It does last for 8 hours in the low mode. In other words, when the fan's spinning slowly, it runs for 8 hours. You have this at top speed, and you got maybe an hour, possibly 2 of air conditioning, and that's it. They don't tell you that in the commercial, but I'm telling you that here. So, is this really a practical air conditioner that's going to save you a ton of electrical money? Not if the temperature goes above 85 degrees and you're living in a swamp. Nope, not going to work. So, if you were to use this during the transition from spring to summer, or from summer to fall, okay, perfect, absolutely perfect. But if you're trying to use this in the middle of summer, you better get yourself a good air conditioner. I got one right here. This is my buddy here. So yeah, they don't tell you all that. So like I said, it just depends on what situation you're finding yourself in as to whether this thing is going to work for you or not. So for 40 bucks, it will give you slightly cooler air. I will give you that. It would cool down a room like this. Like I said, if you're going from spring to summer or from summer to fall, and you're just dealing with maybe an hour or 2 of real high heat, and then the rest of the time you're okay, this is a perfect thing for you to have. But for the extreme summer, you still got to have that air conditioner. What would I like to see hooked to this thing? Number one, I would like to see a dehumidifier hooked to this thing. Why? Because this needs a constant flow of water. This works better when it's on its highest setting. The only problem is that when it's on its highest setting, it also takes up a ton of moisture. But if you have a ton of moisture in your house, and you had a dehumidifier that could actually collect all that moisture and pump it into this thing, it would be a lot more efficient. Furthermore, I would like to see this insulated, okay, so that when it did produce the cold air as it's coming out, then the insulation would cause it to be even cooler than what it is. So I think this whole unit needs to be insulated. Another thing is, they need to have an optional feature on here that if you do not want your nightlight at all, you can turn it off. I'd love that. But this is actually what they say it is, except that they boast a lot more than they should. So it's not a total waste of money. It does actually work, but not in the really intense part of summer. When you start getting past 85 degrees and you get all that moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, you're going to want a real air conditioner. So I did try this out when the weather's it was about late April, early May when I first tried this out, and what happened was that during that period of time it wasn't that hot, but it was warm. This kept me cool throughout the night. I have to tell you that. It really did. But as soon as that heavy heat came in, that was it. So Now you know about the arcticair. I want to thank you very much for watching this particular presentation. I will tell you more in a future video, so I would like for you to stay tuned.